consumer of candy and soft drinks, and also is the director of Good Advantage Colorado, which is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that exists to defend the Constitution and restore accountability to our judicial branch. It's appropriate that we're holding this hearing, I think, in these chambers, which used to be the home of the Colorado State Supreme Court. And it's also appropriate that Senator King brought up the mill levy tax freeze ruling, which, of course, was the genesis not only for Good Advantage Colorado, but also opened the door by ripping open a loophole in the Constitution for these very bills to even be put forth and debated. I wrote about this aspect of that ruling the day after April 1st, which of course is the date on which the Office of Legislative Legal Services briefed the Joint Budget Committee and let the Joint Budget Committee know that not only did the mill levy tax freeze ruling uphold the clearly unconstitutional property tax increase, but it also put an entire slate of tax credits and tax exemptions on the chopping block. And I thought when I read about this the next day in the newspaper that it was some kind of April Fool's joke. And unfortunately, the joke is on all of us. And this week, we're seeing that punchline repeated 12 times. Now, there can be no question at all but that this bill represents a tax policy change resulting in a net revenue gain, and therefore, under the Colorado Constitution, requires a vote of the people, requires prior approval. Now, I'm aware, acutely aware, of the anti-constitutional ruling the Colorado Supreme Court in this matter, the mill levy tax freeze case, that put these tax credits and exemptions on the chopping block in the first place. And I'm aware of the interpretation of that language that some among you feels justified as this backdoor attempt at increasing the tax burden on Colorado citizens and businesses. The ruling, if I may quote from that particular section, subsection 4A, that's the requirement that tax increases receive prior approval by a vote of the people, according to this ruling, must be read in conjunction with the other provisions of Article 10, Section 20, namely the subsection 7 revenue limits. Now, where in the Constitution is there any linkage between subsection 4, the requirement to set this to a vote of the people, and subsection 7? It's not enough. Semantic shenanigans and contorted twists of logic that the Colorado State Supreme Court resorted to uphold this unconstitutional ruling, uphold this unconstitutional property tax increase, and put all these tax credits and exemptions on the chopping block is pretty clear. Now, took a couple minutes there to sort of jot this down. I know that I wanted to point out that Good Advantage Colorado, despite the fact that yes, I am a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, I don't come with a great big bag of money like all the other so-called nonprofit, nonpartisan organizations that testify here today. It's striking that not one citizen came out here on his own behalf to testify in favor of these bills. It's equally striking that, with one or two exceptions, everyone that has come forth to oppose these bills has been a citizen, or a business owner, or an employee. It is absolutely striking. And it's equally striking that all of you, as employees of the citizens of Colorado, has sworn to uphold the Colorado Constitution, seem to have a very, shall I say, loose relationship with that obligation. And one among you, Senator Stephan here, is on record as opposing the right of Colorado citizens to vote their conscience in statewide elections. I find that striking. And Senator Stephan, you may, of course, respond to that remark. But I want to talk a little bit also about some other aspects of this bill.
I don't know if you heard the ground rules, but we were giving everybody 3 minutes, so.
I'll try to wrap this up.
I saw that you signed up for a couple, but I would like you to try to wrap it up, please.
Right, and again, it's striking that the first person held at that time would be myself. But I want to talk a little bit about my background. The folks, you came together in a joint session of the General Assembly on Monday to honor the military, and specifically the Colorado National Guard, and I appreciate that. I was there in uniform. I am a member of the Colorado National Guard, and I take very seriously my oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the state of Colorado as well as the United States. And I have spent a lot of time overseas, both before joining the military and during my service, including in some real hellholes. And I've seen the results of government ignoring economic realities, ignoring constitutional limits on their power, property rights, and the rule of law. These bills, and this bill as a perfect example of this, are undermining that rule of law. It goes beyond just the economic impacts. It is corrosive to the very fabric of our constitutional republic. It is corrosive to the very fabric of our social compact. Because businesses and people require a certain amount of regulatory stability. We require a certain knowledge that the rules will not be changed mid-game. These bills are changing the rules mid-game. And the specifics of this bill are specifically bad. That's why I decided to testify on this particular bill. Because, as the previous discussion alluded to, the definition of what constitutes candy is very unclear. And Senator Heath, you served in the Army. You may be old enough to remember when chocolate was handed out as an emergency ration. Chocolate is food. It's not some extraneous, some luxury necessarily. It is food. You are taxing food with this bill. And because of the very unclear definitions of exactly what constitutes candy, again, this undermines the rule of law. Because, as you pointed out, Madam Chairman, it'll be very easy to change the ingredients to try to get around this law. That, again, is corrosive to the rule of law. It's corrosive to businesses, and it undermines society. It leads us inevitably, and what we're seeing here is a raw exercise of power. Constitutional limits are essential to upholding our form of government. And with that, I'll take questions.
And Mr. Arnold, I didn't single you out. Actually, when we hold this up, most people wrap up. And so we don't have to say anything.
Very nice.
So, any questions for Mr. Arnold? Senator Stanton?
Not so much a question as a comment. Mr. Arnold, I know you're referring to a quote of mine in the Denver Post a couple of weeks ago, where I said that the agenda of the organization you represent, the idea of voting for sitting Supreme Court justices off the bench in a single election was radical and disruptive. And nowhere in that comment did I say that I oppose the right of the citizens to cast a vote on that measure, and I resent the way you characterize my comments.
I would say characterizing it as radical and disruptive to voter conscience is a pretty clear characterization, Senator.
I would advocate that citizens consider the merits of each justice individually, and that, I'll be encouraging folks to vote for retention. But I think people have a right to exercise their retention vote. That is not the debate we're having here. I just needed to say that for the record, that you're mischaracterizing my comments.
And I have the gavel in my hand. This discussion is not relevant to House Bill 1194, so let's get back to the bill. Please, both of you. Any questions for Mr. Arnold?